Hi folks, thanks for joining me for a few minutes today. What I'd like to focus our attention on is a problem that is particular to trumpet players and oboists because those instruments are high pressure instruments. In other words, there can be a much greater difference in the air pressure inside the body and in the outside air on the trumpet and the oboe. And this causes some problems, because a lot of breathing methods, the breathing gym, for example, and the teachings of Arnold Jacobs and many other excellent systems and other bits of great advice apply mostly to flow. They don't apply to pressure. Now you need both, of course, but the higher the instrument gets, the more pressure there is. So I want to give you a few things to try today to experiment with the pressure. Now, the first one is when you take a breath, you've got two sets of muscles working. We talked about that in some of the previous breathing coordination videos. So you have your inhaling muscles, your exhaling muscles. If the inhaling muscles, and those work together as a team, this is very, very important. They are in opposition to one another, just like your bicep is in opposition to the tricep. The bicep pulls, the tricep pushes. Okay, that's very simple. Breathing system is a little more complicated than that. But in the same way, one set of muscles is not completely slack as the other one is engaged. They are working together as a team and they balance each other out. And this is what makes it really difficult to figure out good breathing coordination. So let's just work on the inhaling muscles. That's mostly what we do. When we're working on, lung capacity, getting the rib cage loose, and so on and so forth. So the inhaling muscles, it's pretty simple. If you take a full breath without accessorizing, without lifting the shoulders and doing any of those other things, just relax. You take a full breath. You'll get to the point where your lungs are full, and if you hear tension in your voice when you're talking that way, then you've lost control of your inhaling muscles. I'll give you an example. Inhaling muscles is basically, it's like you're pulling a bow. And what we need to do, instead of with a bow where we release the string instantly, in most cases when we're playing the trumpet, we're releasing the string gradually. So we're gradually letting the energy go. So when you take that big breath, you have stored up energy just like pulling a bow. It's really simple and you can feel it. Now the trick is, the thing to practice is how to release that air. So I'll give you one thing you can try. It's really, really simple. You can do this when you're riding in the car, when you're walking down the street. No one will even know you're doing it unless you're doing it poorly. And that is, you take a full breath, maximum breath, so you get a wonderful stretch. And you relax. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Try that. And all I'm doing is I'm making resonance. I'm not just going A, B, C, D, A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I like the ABCs because it's a melody. So I sing, and my goal is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. I've only learned half my ABCs by now, so forgive me. That resonance is the key. When you hear that there's tension, A, B, C, D, you know that you have inappropriate tension in the breathing system. So when you take that full breath, it's actually quite difficult to not put stress on your vocal cords. Why? Because your vocal cords are very sensitive and they don't take a great deal of force from the air. They just take easy flow. So all you do is take that big breath and release it very, very slowly. Don't push. So here's the whole point of this kind of exercise. You're trying to feel, you're trying to taste for yourself the difference between the inhaling muscles and the exhaling muscles. You need to differentiate them. You need to tell how they work together, and you need to tell how they work independently from each other. And the more you can feel that, and the more you can relate it to trumpet playing, the better you're going to play. This is one of the most essential things. So there are so many things you can do, but what you're doing is playing with resistance. Now, when I take that full breath, there's a natural tendency for my throat to get tight. So I'm going to try and do it in a way where I'm not creating tension in my voice. Work on that. You'll start to get a sense, I think, in the body of how that's happening. You might not be able to describe it. You might not be able to explain it to somebody else, but if you can get that sense and hear that resonance when you're absolutely full of air. Now, this is not natural. Normally we take what I call a conversational breath. It's like easy, light. And that's most of the time, that's how we should breathe to play a brass instrument. But sometimes you have to breathe maximum. And you definitely want to do that anyway, just to get your rib cage nice and loose and keep everything supple and flexible. It's really important. So all those exercises, as in the breathing gym or yoga breathing exercises, many of them, are great for just movement and expansion, flexibility, fluidity in the tissue. But they're not coordination per se. Coordination is feeling how those muscles work independently and how they relate to each other and how they apply to playing. So this is something you have to taste. So that's a starting point. Now let's go with the same exercise. I'm going to take a breath. So I'm retaining the air. I'm retaining the air by strongly flexing my inhaling muscles. Everything else is relaxed. Now you notice I'm not holding with my throat. A flying insect could go inside, down into my lungs, fly around and fly back out again and not touch anything, I hope, because otherwise it would be uncomfortable. So that's how what you want to picture. It's kind of vulnerable feeling because you're open. There's nothing protecting you on the inside. But it's also a really, really loose feeling. Now, this is, you can watch the videos on the breathing tube. It gives you that sensation automatically. So once you get open, then your job is to control slow release. Now you can do that a lot of different ways. When there's no resistance, it's hard to feel. But if you just say S, what you're working on is allowing flow without pushing. Allowing ease of flow, just like pouring water out of a bucket. The bucket fills up, it overflows. There's no push involved. You're just tipping the bucket. That's the feeling that you want to get. This can be really relaxing. It's a great thing to do before you have to do something stressful. An audition, for example, or a performance, a special performance, solo performance. Anytime you feel that stress, this is a great way to do it. Big relaxed breath. Release very, very slowly. Now you can do this with your voice, as I just showed you. You can do it with the S, and there are many other ways. Obviously you can do it buzzing. We'll get into that later, talking about buzzing. That's a huge subject, and some of it's very controversial. So I'll try and deal with that. But in this case, what you're trying to do is get a feel for how to release the tension that you have stored by contracting those muscles. It's like free energy, right? So here's another thing you could do. You take that big breath, and some people like to do what's called a sipping breath. So you take the full breath, all I'm doing is saying toot, 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 toot as the air is coming in. But I'm not holding it with my throat, and I'm not holding it with my tongue. Just touching the tongue. This is critical because if you go, see, now you're holding the pressure with your tongue. And this is exactly the skill you want to get. Now, don't get me wrong, pressure, air pressure, absolutely necessary. There has to be a difference between the air pressure inside your body and the air pressure outside in the room. Otherwise, you won't get any sound. There has to be a flow. There has to be an exchange that's going on there. But you need to feel and be able to control that air pressure and that air flow at the highest possible level of skill. Now, the first step is getting a sense of how the body does it. And normally we don't think about this because we already know how to do it. When we're talking, we take a breath. You see there's no noise. We take a relaxed breath and we just talk and we talk. Take another breath and it goes in really quickly. We're not having any problems. So why is there such a big problem on a brass instrument? Because the circumstance is different, especially on the trumpet where you have high pressure inside the body and lower pressure and compared to the pressure outside the body. So let's try another thing. This toot toot, getting us to the point where we can hold the air. Add more. Don't cheat by letting it out your nose. Be very aware and very conscious. Don't close your throat. Don't use the glottis. Everything stays open. So it's just the breathing muscles expanding, 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 expanding. And it feels really good. It's a stretch. And then when you get to the top, after you, or if you get bored, whichever comes first, put the slightest amount of release of the air pressure onto the tongue, and then let the tongue go out of the way and let it flow. Now, this is hard to show you through a video. This is stuff I'm just suggesting, experiment with it. I think you can feel these things. It has to be the lightest touch of the tongue, and then lean on it. So I just got rid of 6 liters of air in about 4 seconds. Now that wouldn't happen if I had the trumpet on my face. It takes way, way less air than that to play the trumpet, which is why we need this kind of control. Now on the other side of it are the blowing muscles. The blowing muscles are the ones that push the air out, and the easiest way to feel them is to let yourself breathe and then relax the breath as in a sigh. Now I'm at neutral. Now the fact is, see, I'm still talking. And this is really, really important because I'm still talking and I don't have any air left. Well, I must have some, but you see, I'm still talking and I haven't taken a breath. Now at some point, my throat is going to start to get tight. You see what happened? So here's what you want to try and do. And again, it's really, really simple. The best way is with vocal resonance. And I realize not everybody's a trained singer. I've not ever taken any voice lessons, which is probably obvious. It's all about resonance. So if you can go, that's not a supported resonant sound. That is. If you can create resonance and keep it going, you'll have an idea of how to start to work here. Now, once you release, start talking. Again, you can say your ABCs. You can count from 1 to 10. You can say anything you want. You can just do a single tone if you want. You can go up and down in the range. The key is keep maintaining resonance. So I'm going to count from 1 to 10. And once I get to 10, I'm going to go back to the beginning and count again. But I'm concentrating on one continuous vocal resonance. See, I'm starting at the neutral point. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I'm starting to feel tension. As soon as you start to feel tension, stop the air. Don't close anything. Relax the body. Don't breathe anymore. Just relax the body. What you'll find is there's tension in your body because of the awkward feeling of being out of air and trying to press the air out. You're accumulating unnecessary tension. When you can go all the way to the end of the air, all the way to the end of the tone of the voice, all the way to the end of the tone of the trumpet, and the tone has not degraded at all, and you feel like you're in control, and you can take an instantaneous breath, full breath, right after going all the way to the end of your ear. Now you've created something. So this is something we can make into an exercise. I'll try to get into specific exercises later on. But first you have to understand what you're looking for. Just doing the exercise really won't do you any good unless you're becoming more aware of the way the body works, what it feels like when it's working properly, and then you can start to train things in. You can invent your own exercises. There are a million things that you can do. Now, one more thing before I let you go today is I talked in the beginning about dealing with pressure. So I'm talking about air pressure. So if I take that breath, so now I have a full breath, maximum as possible, and I'm gently releasing the air in order to be able to talk without making my vocal cords get tight. Now, once I have that full breath, I'm going to very, very light touch. And you can probably see my body. I did what you might think of as a slump, except I'm not changing my posture. In other words, a slump, you go, ugh. So you're relinquishing all that unnecessary tension. You're just letting it go, but you're not changing your alignment or your posture. The posture stays, chest stays open, shoulders are back and down. Your spine is in alignment. Your head is floating. The neck is free. All those good things that I hope you know. And if you don't, you want to investigate a little bit. Once you get to that point, you always want to maintain that posture. Now I have strong air pressure and flow. You see how the air just goes? And here's the key. I am not blowing. I'm not going. Now at some point you need to blow. If you're playing above the staff, at the top of the staff, and into the high C range and then the next octave and whatever you can do, you have to create more and more air pressure because there tends to be more and more resistance. The less resistance you create, the less air pressure you have to create. That's one of the secrets of great lead playing, by the way. But no matter how good you are at the sport, you're still going to have to figure out how to create air pressure. And the first step is get the free air pressure first. So if you go, see, that's all free. I stored it up like a battery. Now I'm going to release it. Now I can feel I had unnecessary tension at the top, but when I'm stopping it with my finger, by the way, we'll talk about this when we talk about embouchure. See, that embouchure is all spread out. That embouchure is not. How do I know? There's only one small area that the air is coming out. Now don't get freaked out about this, and we'll talk about it later. You don't have to try and make a pinhole in your lip. That would be extremely detrimental because then the air won't be able to get through. But what you do need to do is keep that airstream going in a good direction. In other words, not just spreading out like a fan, but flowing like, water coming out of a hose with no nozzle on it, just a stream of water. Now, once you've developed higher pressure, by releasing the air, now you can start applying the blowing muscles. And what I'm going to recommend you do, it's difficult, but I'm going to recommend that you do it, is start at the neutral point. Don't start with your lungs full, because then you have that free pressure that you get from releasing your inhaling muscles, right? So just go to the neutral point. Pretty good. Now you may feel tension in your throat. You may feel the throat start to lock. It's very, very unnatural. And you don't actually even have to release it. You can probably feel even before you release the finger, whether you're creating your own resistance inside your body. The idea is to be wide open and relaxed and let the support muscles engage more and more and more to create that pressure. Now, doing it on the end of the air makes it more obvious. We obviously need to do this at any point in the breath, whether your lungs are full or whether they're relatively empty. So this is part of what you want to practice. So these are just little doodads, little things you can do. And what's the point of any exercise? To try and feel, see, smell, hear, taste, anything that is. You're trying to figure out what's going on there. What am I feeling? Scan around your body, figure out what's going on. Now, we haven't talked a lot in this section about the difference between the thoracic cavity and the abdominal cavity. And they're two different areas in your body. When you inhale, you create, from the distension of the diaphragm, you create more pressure in the abdominal cavity. When you blow, you want to release that. And when we're not blowing correctly, and this is a problem that many trumpet players have, I had it for many years, and I developed it as a kid, trying to play stuff that was too loud and too high and too long. So it's really, it's a very common problem. Let's put it that way. And that's what I want to try and help you work out. And I hope that some of this is going to be helpful. But if you put pressure in the abdomen and you don't let that pressure that's been built up release and kind of follow the air out, see, as you're blowing out, then the pressure goes into the thoracic cavity, into your chest cavity. So your abdominal cavity and your chest cavity are constantly exchanging pressure. Now, you don't need to be technical about it. You need to feel it. You need to feel it. Am I keeping pressure in the abdominal cavity like that? And a lot of trumpet players, most trumpet players, are doing that when they blow. And that's what's causing so many of the problems with endurance, so many problems with embouchure issues, breakdowns in injuries, lots of problems with tonguing, especially multiple tonguing. And it's mystifying to a lot of people how some players can play with such incredible lightness and agility. It's primarily breath control. And the fact is, most people are overpressurizing and trying to force the air through for a variety of reasons. So all these things have to be, it's like a big ball of string that's all knotted up. They have to be untied. And so I hope this session is helping you get a little handle on that today. I feel like we could do a lot more, but you got a basic idea of where to go from here. Maybe in the next section we'll talk about air stream, because when we start to think differently about what we're doing with the air, not just blow, but blow a stream of air, then we start to get into a whole different mindset, and that causes our body to operate differently. So maybe we'll talk about airstream next time. Okay, I will see you later on. I hope you find some of this stuff valuable. The main thing is, try these things for yourself and see if you can make sense out of it for yourself. Experience it in your body. Pay attention to what you're feeling. If you're confused, if you don't understand, bear with that feeling of uncertainty and just keep looking, listening, and feeling. That's the best advice I can give you. See you later on. Bye-bye.